Hi, I'm Christa Jacobson, headmistress of the Budo where we teach authentic ninjutsu and classical samurai bujutsu. And for those of you who don't know what that is, it's the ancient martial arts of the ninja and samurai. In today's video, we're going to be talking about the 7 hardships of samurai training. So what this is, it's the hardships that a young samurai would have to undergo before they went on their Musha Shugyo, or their warrior's journey. That's going to be the topic of the discussion today. Now, before I begin, I always give a shout out to all of my new viewers. So if this is the first video that you guys have seen of me, my name is Christa Jacobson. I'm the headmistress of the Budo, which means School of the Warrior Way. We teach Koryu Ninjutsu and Koryu Bujutsu, so the ancient martial arts of the ninja and samurai. This organization does have other areas of focus, such as reality-based self-defense, weapons training and tactics, concealed carry, survival skills, martial arts theory, thought, and philosophy, martial arts conditioning. If any of these subjects interest you at all, please subscribe to my YouTube channel, and don't forget to click the bell. I do post 2 to 3 videos every single week, so if you're interested in any of these topics at all, please subscribe, click the bell, and keep up with what we're doing. So today we're going to be talking about the 7 hardships of samurai training. Now, what this means is the hardships that a young samurai would have to undergo before going on their Musha Shugyo, their warrior journey, right? It's time for them to go out on a path, go on a journey, experience life, and go through certain things to help them develop a skill set needed to be a functional samurai. So I'm going to go through all 7 hardships that are listed in the Bukyo Shingen Goden-ryu, and as I go through each one of these hardships, I'm also going to explain why this is something that they need to do. Because some of these things that they discuss, I think the average person would be like, that doesn't have anything to do with being a samurai or a soldier and learning how to fight on the battlefield. So I'm going to give you guys a little bit of a background information on each one of these 7 hardships. Again, this information comes from the Bukyo Shingen Goden-ryu. And before I begin, I want to kind of paint a picture so you guys can understand the process of going on this Musha Shugyo. So there's this young samurai, and this young samurai was born into a samurai family. This wasn't a samurai that kind of worked themselves up the ladder to prove themselves on the battlefield. This is going to be an individual that was born into a samurai family, right? I'm painting a picture here. And they grew up doing martial arts and training in the martial arts and empty-handed fighting and kinjutsu and sojutsu and kyujutsu, and their dad is a samurai, and they've heard all the stories of their dad going to battle, and their grandfather's a samurai, and they've heard all the stories of the grandfather going to battle. And then the young samurai becomes old enough to where it's time for him to go on his Musha Shugyo. So the father says, it's time for you to go on your Musha Shugyo. And when he tells him this, he says, these are the 7 hardships. This is the thing that you're going to have to undergo. These are things you're going to have to deal with while on this journey. And when you go on your journey, I want you to come back. And for the sake of painting a picture, let's just say that the father tells the son, I want you to come back 1 year from now. When the cherry blossoms start to bloom, that's when I want to see you come back. The son says, okay, I'm ready to go on my Musha Shugyo. So this young samurai is ready to do exactly what his father has done and his grandfather has done, and he wants to make himself this samurai, right? He wants to go and understand the mindset and what it takes to become better at being a samurai. So the father says, these are the 7 things that I want you to undergo. Number 1, experience days of cold and heat, withstand wind and rain, walk along mountain roads and difficult paths. So here's this young samurai, and he's thinking, okay, you want me to experience days of cold and heat, wind and rain, withstand wind and rain, and you want me to walk along unknown paths in the mountains. You know, he's probably thinking, okay, no problem. But what he's probably not factoring in is because, again, we're just coming up with this little story so you guys can kind of paint a picture of this in your head. Imagine this kid, and again, he was born into a samurai family. He was not a samurai that kind of worked himself up the ranks. He was born into a samurai family. His dad was a samurai. His grandfather was a samurai. They probably had family land. He probably didn't have to worry about a meal growing up. He probably had someone providing that for him. So here's a situation where here's a young samurai totally like, you know, I've got this. He doesn't realize that this first thing is teaching you how to be street smart. You know, and there is a benefit to that. Being able to walk along paths that you don't know, it opens up your perception, you act a certain way, you become a certain way, and when you're only in an environment to where everything is given to you and you didn't have to work for it, that's much different than being in an environment where you have to work for everything. You have to experience the cold and the rain and the wind and the heat and walking on roads that you don't know because there might be someone there that's going to harm you. So this first part of the hardship of this samurai Musha Shugyo is understanding, you know, becoming street smart, if you will, becoming more connected to the elements and the surroundings around you. Number 2, Do not sleep under a roof and become comfortable sleeping out in nature. Now what this is teaching the individual to now he has to learn survival skills. Now I also want to point out that all of the skill sets that he needs to go on the Musha Shugyo, he's already learned. Again, this is a young samurai that's learned survival, he's learned martial arts, he's learned swordsmanship and spearmanship, he's learned these things at a young age, but now it's time for him to go on his warrior journey and get some experience, right? So the second one is you need to sleep outdoors. You need to be comfortable sleeping outdoors. And what this is teaching him to understand his survival skills and how to make shelter and how to find water and how to, get rest while you're in an area where you might have to deal with wild animals or an area that's unknown. So this survival aspect is also very important. It helps kind of train the mind to think and act a certain way. So we've got the first one where we're dealing with street smarts and becoming connected to the elements and kind of watching your actions and your mouth and what you're doing, but also applying survival skills as part of the second hardship towards the elements of nature, because Mother Nature is going to bring it. She's not going to care whether you're trained in survival skills or not. And having to deal with Mother Nature out in an area that's unknown, that can be quite difficult for a young samurai. So that's going to be the second hardship. Number 3, be patient with hunger and cold and carry no money or food. So again, this goes on this concept of, okay, now you're walking along roads that you don't know, you're trying to be connected to the element, pay attention to your surroundings, becoming street smart, working on your survival skills, living out in nature, and on top of that, you can't carry money and you can't carry food, and you have to learn to become patient with hunger. And we can get into why we think that has a lot to do with, samurai going on campaign and things like that. But the carrying no money and carrying no food, that's kind of an important aspect, because what this does is it teaches the mindset to be okay with living without. And again, we're trying to paint this picture as in this story, this is a young samurai that probably did not live without. And his father is saying, gotta go, don't take no money or food. See you next year, right? So it's teaching him how to live without. And there's so many people that don't know how to live without. They don't have street smarts, they don't know how to survive, and they don't know how to live without. And those things are very crucial when we're talking about self-defense, tactics and survival tactics, right? So these first 3 are help shaping the mindset and the behavior of this young samurai to truly understand more than just, okay, a technique with a sword. It's helped shaping the mind for survival. And I think that's very important when you're looking at this 7 hardships of samurai training. Number 4, if there's a battle in one's destination, participate and achieve great success. Be direct in combat and avoid acting like a thief. This is the one that everyone tends to focus on, right? If there's a battle wherever you're going in your destination, participate in the battle. Basically, learn how to fight, right? Put yourself in a position where now you have to fight. You know what I mean? I'm sure we've seen lots of different movies where, the student, the master takes the student to the bar and, has them drink a little bit and then forces them to fight so he can learn how to fight against someone that doesn't fear him and doesn't give a damn. It's much different than, learning martial arts in a family dojo. So he's supposed to participate in the battle. He's supposed to be very direct in combat, meaning put your direction towards combat, focus on the combat, achieve great success. But also that last sentence I think is very unique. It says, avoid acting like a thief. And I think that was mentioned because imagine someone who's now, that's a young samurai, again painting this picture, and he's walked cold days and wind and rain and unknown paths, and he's just traveling and he's hungry as hell. He's surviving off the land. He doesn't have the same amount of food and nutrition that he used to have, and now he hits this battle and he's got to fight, run around stealing food and things like that, or maybe stealing someone's weapons or anything along those lines. That's something that you shouldn't be doing. So I think that it's okay. You also got to get yourself in a fight, but avoid acting like a thief. Don't act like a thief. Don't go steal other people's stuff. What you need to do is focus on you and understand that this is just part of the process. So the 4th one is learning how to fight. Learn how to apply what it is that you have learned in the family dojo in actual battle. Number 5, go along places frightening to the common man. Places where evil spirits congregate and where there are bewitching foxes and poisonous snakes. So this one's also very unique. It's saying that you want to go to places that are frightening to the common man. You want to go where there's evil spirits. Go where there's like bewitching foxes and poisonous snakes and things that's completely frightening. horrifying to the common man. And the reason for this is to teach the young samurai how to deal with fear. Fear in a situation that's uncontrollable. Now, what do I mean by that? There's always going to be fear when you go to a fight, when you go to a battle. Like we mentioned in the previous hardship, you have to go fight. There's always going to be fear in that sense. But this is a different kind of fear. You're supposed to go along places where there's evil spirits and bewitching foxes and witches and all this kind of stuff and poisonous snakes. You're supposed to go into areas where that exists. What that does is it teaches you how to deal with fear, an uncontrollable fear, a fear that you may or may not have a quote-unquote defense technique towards. But it teaches you how to mentally stay calm and teaches you how to take in that fear and still go through those areas. Let's say that it's a haunted cemetery or something like this. So he still has to go through the haunted cemetery of evil spirits and bewitching foxes and all this kind of stuff, right? He's still going to go through this haunted area of evil spirits, and he's going to make it to the other side, and that's going to help him understand how to control his fear. And again, that is an integral aspect of dealing with how to become a samurai, how to control fear, how to understand your mind and your body and control these emotions while doing what you know is right. Number 6, become a criminal on purpose. Be put in jail and extricate yourself by your own wisdom. This particular section is saying you need to become a criminal on purpose. You need to do something that's going to help you understand how to be a criminal, and then get in trouble for it and then be put in jail for doing the crime. Even if it's something as simple as, stealing an apple, something like that, stealing a piece of fruit at the local market or something, right? Now, earlier we talked about avoid acting like a thief. I believe that means avoid acting like a thief in that situation, because obviously this is saying you need to be a thief, you need to be a criminal. I believe when they're talking about avoiding acting like a thief when it's time to go to battle, as I stated earlier, I believe that meant don't go stealing other people's stuff to better yourself before you go into the fight. I believe that what that meant was you are going to go into the fight with what you have, and you're going to learn how to fight with what it is that you have and the skills you have and what you've got. And that is what you go into battle with, not, go around and stealing other people's armor or swords or spears or things like that. So I think when we talked about avoid being a thief, that was in a different rule. This one is saying become a criminal on purpose. Not only just become a criminal, allow yourself to get caught and be thrown in jail. See, what this is teaching is the criminal mindset. And the reason the criminal mindset is so important is because there are so many people that they don't understand how a criminal or a thief or an attacker thinks. And it's very important to understand how a criminal thinks, because if you understand how a criminal thinks, you can actually prepare yourself better from a self-defense situation, whether it's situational awareness, etc., etc. You need to understand it's truly important to understand how a criminal thinks. So by doing that and then understanding the hardship of being thrown in jail and belittled, that in itself is also something that is kind of an important aspect towards building humility and accepting repercussions for what it is that you did, right? So this is kind of a unique aspect. It's become a criminal on purpose and then accept your repercussions, and then from that you're going to gain a certain amount of wisdom. I guess that all depends on what exactly it was that they did as a criminal act, but nonetheless, this one is focusing on learning the mindset of a criminal and applying that mindset to your skill set as a young samurai warrior. Number 7, consider your position to be lower than that of the farmers and make a living helping in the paddies and rice fields. Now what this basically is as you're walking around and you're this samurai on a Musha Shugyo and you're walking the land, you want to be extremely humble and put yourself below the common person, the farmers and the merchants and all that kind of stuff, and you want to make a living in the rice fields and doing hard labor. And basically what this is learning how to work for a living, getting your first job, working for money so that you can have the money to buy the food that you want. And, learning hard work, you lower yourself below them so that you can be humble, you can work, you can learn the value of hard work, and then learning the value of hard work also helps you shape this mentality of a young samurai. So when you look at these 7 hardships right? When you look at these 7 hardships of samurai training, what we're truly seeing, they're wanting the samurai to become more street smart or more aware of their surroundings. They want them to understand survival training, how to live off the land. They want them to learn how to live without. That's why they don't carry any money or food. They want them to learn how to fight, learn to take the skills that they learned in the family dojo and apply it to a battle, regardless of where they go. They want them to learn to deal with fear, where they go along frightening places to the common man, where there's evil spirits and bewitching foxes. They want them to learn the criminal mindset. They want them to think like a criminal. And by thinking like a criminal, they'll understand how a criminal acts. They want them to lower themselves from the position that they are. That's why they want them to be taken on a position lower than a farmer. And they want them to help out in the paddies and the rice fields. They want them to learn how to work for a living. They want them to learn the value of hard work. Now, all of these things I think is really important, because by learning these things, it helps shapes the mindset of this young samurai. So imagine this young samurai, again, grew up in a samurai family, probably never had to hunt or anything for food other than going out with his dad, I guess, but a lot of things were probably provided, and his dad had to go through all this. His grandfather had to go through all this. His dad says, I want you to go, and in 1 year from now, you're going to be back when the cherry blossoms bloom, and then, we're going to have a meal together and we'll discuss it. So this young samurai goes out and he experiences all this for a year or so, and then comes back, and you see his dad, and his dad's like, okay, now we can talk. And you see his grandfather is like, okay, now we can talk. Now, whether or not these 7 hardships of a young samurai for Musha Shugyo was directly affected everybody that went out on Musha Shugyo, probably not. Have these 7 hardships been romanticized into the modern day? Probably a little bit. But nonetheless, these are still the 7 hardships of a young samurai going on a Musha Shugyo according to the Bukyo Shigen Goden-ryu. So thank you guys very much for watching this video. If you've enjoyed the video, please subscribe to my YouTube channel and don't forget to click the bell. Again, I post 2 to 3 videos every single week. If you guys are interested in authentic ninjutsu and classical samurai bujutsu, please check out my website at www.budoninjutsu.com. There you guys can see the 7 traditions, the principles and strategies that we teach. If you don't live next to one of our schools, you guys can always join the Budo online ninjutsu dojo and start training that way. So thank you guys very much for your love and support. I deeply appreciate it. Until next time, take care, be safe, and good luck in your journey of Budo. Bye.